Dowsey has started a bit of a storm in the Dead by Daylight community with his latest video. Now, the video in question is called Behavior, Your Fog Whisperers Are Tired of Staying Silent. And in the video, he basically looks at what Otstarver and Spooky Loops have said about the whole hacking and cheating epidemic in the Dead by Daylight community at the moment. And he basically approaches it with the point of view of somebody who used to be in the Fog Whisperer program, but no longer is. And with the notion that he will say what these people won't. That's kind of basically a direct quote of how he approaches the video. And the things he says about like Fog Whisperers stepping on eggshells and not being able to actually speak their thoughts and stuff is what's caused the storm, especially on Twitter. Right now, there are a lot of Fog Whisperers who are actually speaking out against that statement. And it's just a whole thing if you want to look into it. But that's not actually what we want to talk about today. Today, I want to talk about a specific part of the video where he makes a pretty bold statement. And I'm just going to let this part play, and then we're going to talk about it. So let's get it started.
I mean, I doubt this will happen, but there are, I think, over 50 Fog Whisperers in the Fog Whisperer program. And I would personally implore every single one of them to leave the Fog Whisperer program. You need to put your money where your mouth is. You need to leave the Fog Whisperer program because it will say so much to the DVD community if you leave the Fog Whisperer program and say, we don't believe in what you are offering us as a community. This issue has been in the game.
Just casually throwing down a gauntlet to the Fog Whisperers of Dead by Daylight, saying that they should put their money where their mouth is and leave the Fog Whisperer program. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Should the Fog Whisperers leave? Does Dowsey actually have a point in what he's saying? Is it time for the Fog Whisperers to make a stand? Well, before we get on to talking about all of that and like raising the points which I've come to, I just want to highlight what the Fog Whisperers are for anybody who isn't familiar with the Dead by Daylight community or just the program in general. So if you ever see this symbol on somebody's stream, that means they're a Fog Whisperer. Okay, and basically, the Fog Whisperers are partners of Dead by Daylight. They're people that the behavior have selected, essentially people who they believe represent the community and the game to the highest degree. And they get like chapter codes for their viewers, in-game currency, bonus blood points in the playtest build, which seems like the least, the worst benefit. Like just hands down, bonus blood points in the playtest build. Great, I can't wait for that. And then they also get potential information regarding upcoming content to reveal to their communities. So all in all, they don't get like a financial benefit or anything like that, apart from the in-game currency. And one thing which is very key to note about the Fog Whisperer program is that they are not employed by behavior. So from their own words, Fog Whisperers are ambassadors of Dead by Daylight. And I think there are like over 50 Fog Whisperers currently in the game, and they range from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of different types of streamers, but the main ones that you may be familiar with are Otstarver and Spooky Loops, amongst others. So let's move on to whether the Fog Whisperers should leave the program. Should Fog Whisperers make a stand and say, we're done with the program, you guys are fucking us up too much, we're going to leave? Let's start with the positives. There's like one. For me, there is one positive to leaving the Fog Whisper program, and that is exactly what Dowsey said. It will send a message. A very loud, a very clear, and a very public message, which would be very, very hard for behavior to ignore, and would basically push behavior to either working faster on whatever they're currently working on, or to actually do something. Behavior would be forced to act in some capacity. That's the biggest positive, and from my point of view, one of the only positives of the Fog Whisperers leaving the program. And unfortunately, it does mean that there are a lot more negatives than positives of this potential idea. So if we look at some of the negatives, the first one is exactly the same as the positive. It sends a message. It's like a double-edged sword, essentially. One side, behavior is forced to act. But on the other side, it kind of damages the idea of the Fog Whisperer program. And all of these Fog Whisperers who choose to leave the program may find it hard to be repartnered with behavior in the future if Dead by Daylight kind of gets its act together. Because let's say if you do leave the Fog Whisperer program and you send this message to behavior, they're probably not going to be as receptive if you want to join the program a bit later on. They might kind of hold that grudge. As we know that behavior kind of do like have a habit of doing things when somebody kind of puts them in a negative light. For example, when Dowsey spoke out against them, they took away his Twitch shirts. But my point in that is, these people obviously care about the game. These people who are in the Fog Whisperer program obviously care a great deal about the game. Enough that they wanted to be partnered with the company and the game itself. So maybe they don't want to send that message. Maybe they don't want to kind of sever that relationship between themselves and behavior. Maybe they want to keep holding on for as long as possible so that when the game, hopefully we say when the game does eventually kind of get back into its groove and the hacking and the cheating problem is a bit more negated, they can just step back into that role and not worry about any potential consequences of their decisions during this time. So that's the first negative, is that, you've got that severing of relationships. The second one that I was thinking of is the negative impact that would have on the game itself. Now, Dead by Daylight currently especially does not have a very good reputation through the toxic community, which obviously is very prominent on my channel, and through the cheating and the hacking that is currently sweeping every single game that you come across nowadays, and like everybody being held hostage and people's IP addresses being leaked and DDoS attacks coming in and all this kind of stuff. The reputation of Dead by Daylight currently is quite iffy, right? How do you think it's going to fare if the people who are meant to be the biggest believers in the game, in the partner program, how do you think it's going to fare if they suddenly are like, yeah, no, we don't believe in this game either? It's probably not going to be very good. It's probably going to massively damage the reputation of the game even further. More people will start playing, less people will want to join into the game, and therefore, like, sales will be hurt and all that kind of stuff. And potentially you could make the current problem even worse rather than making it better. So in a decision where you're trying to, make a positive impact by getting behavior to do their thing, what they need to do, you need to work on this game. We're not happy with it. Instead, what you do is you actually just completely screw behaviors, game community, and potential financial output. I think I said in a previous video that, like, if Starver stops streaming, it's a big negative for Dead by Daylight, because a lot of his community will probably also stray away from the game. And a lot of people in my comments on that video were like, oh no, influencers don't actually affect the gaming community as much as you think you do. Content creators don't decide whether or not somebody plays the game. But they kind of do. Okay, if Starver says, hey, I don't feel safe in this game. I'm one of the biggest content creators, and I was a Fog Whisperer program, and I'm leaving this community because I don't feel safe in this game. Do you really think people are going to just ignore that? No, people are going to take that and be like, oh yeah, well, maybe I don't feel safe in this game anymore. And they're going to leave as well. And that is a massive, massive impact that could have on the game, which would not be very good. So, I've kind of given a positive and a couple of negatives from my point of view, and I am really interested to hear your standpoints in the comments as well. This is just kind of me kind of rambling my thoughts out. But for me, I don't feel like Dowsey is right in what he's saying here, and I honestly don't think Dowsey has thought through the suggestion that he's just put forward. I think if the Fog Whisperers were to leave the program, it's kind of like a final straw card. You know what I mean? It's like the thing you do when you're really at your wit's end. And like, a lot of people may seem like they're at their wit's end right now, and maybe they are, but with the new roadmap that was come out about cheating, with the new potential solutions that Behavior have put forward in terms of the in-game measurements and all that kind of stuff, that surely we've still got a little bit more to go before we decide whether or not we're at the end. Surely we can give them a few more months, give Behavior a few more months to try and figure this out, try and fix it before we make such a massive statement. Maybe after the roadmap, once we're like mid 2023, mid next year, maybe if nothing's changed, maybe if things are still as bad as they are now, maybe then we make that final trump card. We implore people to leave the Fog Whisper program, and maybe as a gaming community of Dead by Daylight, we all just go on strike. Maybe Dowsey's idea is for when we are really at our wit's end, when we have nothing left. Because at the moment, I just feel like we're not there yet. We're not at that final standpoint just yet. But that's my opinion. I am really interested to let you guys kind of duke this out in the comments and have your thoughts back and forth, whether you agree with Dowsey, whether you don't agree with Dowsey. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Bye-bye.
So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up.